Guys, CEO Wisdom Pod with Phil Bussière. He is president, aka CEO and founder at Far 36, Far 36 in English. Phil is from Quebec, just like myself. He is an agency owner, just like me, and we're gonna discuss about these topics: CRMs, email marketing, and so forth. Phil, welcome to the pod. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and about your business?
Yes, thank you, Charles, for the invitation. I founded my agency 10 years ago. I started out by doing almost everything and anything. Like I was building website, doing Google ads, YouTube ads, content strategy. And within a year, I was facing the hard truth. I had no contracts. I had trouble being paid. So I had to find a new contract, a new job. And that's when I discovered CRM and marketing automation platform for small businesses. So I did a full year there. And then I traveled to Arizona to get certified with Infusionsoft. And from then, I was just focused on CRM and automation.
Right. And since then, I mean, the decision to leave your safe job for something entrepreneurial, do you think this decision was justified? Did you make a good choice back then?
Uh, yeah, sorry for the hesitation, but you know, probably within the first 6 months, I had hesitations. And I was like, oh, did I make the right choice? Like anyone would have those kind of discussion with themselves. But where I'm at today, after 10 years in business, it's a no-brainer. It's like this is the best life, even if it's difficult, even if you have challenges, cash flow or unsatisfied customers or emails that are being sent at the wrong time or with the wrong subject line. Like there's so much benefit and like the happiness it brings and the success it can bring. Like it can always lead you much further in life. Like so I'm really glad to be in business today.
Right. What's the entrepreneurship index in Quebec City, which is a city that is somewhat, there's a lot of bureaucrats in Quebec or people that work for the government. Do you feel people are still launching businesses nowadays?
Um yeah, well, like I think Quebec City is it has plenty of new entrepreneurs and new businesses. It's an overshadow from the government. It's not that it's difficult. Like the government needs subcontractors, and therefore there is place for entrepreneurs there. When I was living in Quebec City, I had those kind of reflection, but today I can see it differently. Living in Montreal now, and I can see a difference. Like I see a lot of old friends in Quebec City having the time of their life being entrepreneurs. Of course, Montreal is much more business oriented, but you know, to me, it doesn't. There's no big difference. It's just the number of people you have in each city that makes a difference.
Right. And do you feel we can compete like on the international level? And if so, how?
Ooh, great question. When I started doing CRM and marketing automation, within the first 2 years, I had more customers in Europe than I had in Quebec. And it wasn't because I was trying to get customers from Europe, like they came to us and I was working just by myself. So you're asking me if we have a chance to work with clients abroad. I say of course, and it doesn't matter the type or the size of your business. Like we have anything on the web to do business anywhere we want. It's for us as entrepreneur to be working from anywhere, but it's for us as entrepreneur to get customers from whatever country we like.
And how do you stay competitive, like at the international scale? For example, in Canada, we have the government quite a lot helping us with grants and funds. Do you feel this can help, or it's mostly something that is negative when you compete against Silicon Valley that gets millions of dollars of funding and it's shark eats wolf type of ecosystem?
Well, 2 years ago, my answer would have been different, in the sense that before the pandemic, people would sign contracts with us, like not with their eyes closed, but close to it. Like, it's like, those guys know, they know what they're doing. They can help us. Let's go. We want to work with the best. Nowadays, with the inflation, the pandemic, and the uncertainty, it's more difficult, and I see more and more new customers coming and asking for grants, for example, or loans, or uh, being able to split their payments on a contract and stuff like that. But in the end, the needs are the same. Like, they need to have better marketing. They need to automate some of the tasks in their marketing and in their sales process. So the type of work that we do has not changed. It's how we conclude the sales that is different.
I'm looking at your content at the same time that I'm listening to you here, and it's quite funny some of the stuff you put out there. For example, the email marketer kit, with the robe de chambre, and yeah, it's
The
a good one.
bathrobe, yeah.
Yeah, spam. You talk a lot of spam. How
Mhm.
do you avoid spam? Like, do you do cold email yourself? Let me start with that.
No, I don't do cold email. I helped a friend a couple of weeks ago doing cold emails, and honestly, it was the first time I was looking at this, and he had this totally unpersonalized email that he was sending out to lots of people, and I just told him, like, first of all, you need more than one email to do cold email, and then you have to focus on your ideal customer problem first. So when I look at this email that you're sending, it's like, look at us, we're good at this, we're good at that, blah blah blah. It's like, man, there's no way you're gonna get sales from this one email. So I suggest him, like, start working on a 3 email sequence and focus on their problem. Like, the cost is in video, so the cost of doing a video of the scenario you have to do for the screenplay for the video, stuff like that. Like, break the barriers and help them make a commitment to you, but you have to talk about their problems first and not about how great you are. So I don't do cold emails, no, and it's fun because I hear more and more about it.
Right. One of my agencies, a cold email agency, and the
Mhm.
perception in Quebec, typically speaking, is a bit less hot than it is in the rest of the world. We're more conservative with how we receive communications here in Quebec.
Mhm.
It'd be fun to look at the first cold emails that I sent, which was 2 to 3 or 4 years ago, and see how that was, because it was probably along these lines. Here's what I do, here's what I'm good at. Let's book a call. Nowadays, the best cold emails, they interrupt patterns, so they're very much different. They are short by definition, and a cool call to action can be, are you experiencing that problem? Do you think this is a good solution? Very simple reply based type of email, or
Mhm.
a good offer. For example, a podcast. Hey, let's do a podcast. Let's have a quick conversation. Let's see if we're a good fit. Let's see if we can share value right off the bat. And then after that, talk about the potential collaboration.
Yep.
You do CRM stuff, which is like email marketing lists and data points. What did this customer do? Where did he interact with my brand? At what point? Um,
Mhm.
I was using HubSpot as a CRM, I got quickly discouraged. Was too long. It had too many application points, and I could never really got it off the ground. Me to cold email folks, I use this app called Apollo. It's a database, plus I sent emails with it. And it also happens that it gives me the interaction points. What email did I send at what point? Did I call this guy? Did I send him an outreach on LinkedIn? And I can even take notes on this app. So it fulfills probably 80% of my CRM needs. I am still a small business at this point. So I would guess that a more advanced business could use way more advanced interaction points and data about their customers. Did they click this Facebook ads? Did they go on the website for how much time? What page did they look and so forth? It can become really powerful. So tell us about some of these applications of a CRM and what do you do specifically for what type of clients nowadays?
So we're working mostly around the life cycle marketing, like how do you attract those leads to your website and into your CRM? How do you convert them into clients? And then how do you make them fans or advocates? Most of the time, people come to us and they can only focus on getting new leads. So if you want a CRM and marketing automation just for getting new leads, you're gonna get tired very quickly, and you'll see that the cost of the implementation won't be worth it. But when you start, and that's where is the main focus these days, is when you start to engage with those new leads and you warm them up and you nurture them. Like, this is where people usually give up. They stop following up. Like, they do 1, 2, maybe 3 follow-up on a new lead, no answer, let's get a new lead. But it takes usually like 5 to 12 touch base to get a good contact, like a new lead to become a customer. So like, we have to educate our customers to keep the relationship going through email or SMS or phone calls, to get them to a context. It could be a webinar, a seminar, an event, just a sales call or a demo call, but to get them to a point where you can make an offer and then conclude the sale and then onboard them. And this is all part of the marketing life cycle. And like I said, sometimes entrepreneurs tend to focus too much on getting new leads, but when a lead says no, it doesn't mean he doesn't want to hear from you anymore. So you have to maintain the engagement. So that's a big issue these days. I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing a lot of stuff on social media, but not using the email list that they have. So that's a main concern with most of the customers, new customers that we have.
Yeah, logically, people still check their email more than they do check anything else, especially in the B2B realm, which I guess we both are. So that's the touch point, for sure. Now, when should we touch base with them? For example, in my cold email campaign, I wait a couple of days in the emails. I usually go in test mode. If I'm testing a segment, it'll be a sequence of 3 emails, for example. And then I have a bunch of funnels. Once we record this podcast, I'll send you an email. Podcast is live. I'll also force subscribe you to my newsletter, which is a practice we might want to discuss. It's quite interesting. We'll connect on LinkedIn, right? So you'll see my content here and there. If you did visit my website, you'll see some remarketing ads. So the back funnel is super important there. And obviously the thesis behind all of these interactions is sending you good shit so that you can learn and get value from me. I tend to produce content that is contrarian, that is not seen a lot out there. I don't recycle stuff much nowadays. I share like unique insights in the hopes that you say, oh, look at this Charles guy. He's kind of smart. And maybe I want to deepen the relationship with them, or who knows, if I'm looking for more leads, maybe I'll go see Charles, or if I want to start my podcast, maybe I'll see Charles. tell me what you think about that philosophy. Right now, it's really Frankenstein, my system. It's all broken. There's manual, there's automatic. I'm trying to zap your stuff as much as I can, and I'm recruiting for an automation expert. But generally speaking, how could I improve these systems of mine?
Well, um, most of the time I like to keep the tools aside from that type of conversation. Like if you want to talk about Zapier or Active Campaign or Keep or Apple or anything, it's like let's put that aside for a minute and let's discuss what's your strategy. Like when you get a new lead, like let's say he downloads your ebook or he did this quiz on your website, like what is your process to convert that lead into a customer? Okay, so
Nada.
so but you mentioned a lot of good stuff. Like when I talk about automation, I mostly talk about automating emails to send them at a specific time after a specific action, but you can do so much more with automation that we and I don't talk about enough. Like you can synchronize your database with Facebook audiences. So when somebody downloads your ebook and gets in your CRM, you can put that person into a specific audience and retarget that person on Facebook. You don't have to do it immediately. You can wait 3 hours, you can wait 5 days, but you can sync those audience and you can remove those people from some of the audience once they take another specific action. Let's say somebody bought your consultants about email deliverability, you can stop targeting them with your advertising. So that's something. And I love the fact that in your process, you mentioned you can decide that after 3 days, after I got a new lead, I'm going to go to LinkedIn and find that person and connect with him or her. That's a task that you can automate as well. So you always have the same process. And when your process is clear, it's much easier to see the scalability and the growth that you want to accomplish. If each time you get a new lead, you're going like poof, I'm gonna call him, I'm gonna go on LinkedIn, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna send an extra email that's not automated and stuff like that, you're just gonna lose it. And that, let's be honest, that's not a scalable model, not at all. And like you won't see any growth if the process isn't streamlined and put in place the right way.
Right.
So the tools are the tools, and they're like each week I'm discovering new tools and I'm remembered of tools that I forgot about. And today I went on Apollo.io or something like that. I never heard of this tool until today. I think it was in your newsletter today. I'm like, oh my God, what's that tool? Oh, sounds good. But like there are tools to accomplish anything in marketing and sales. So let's find out what's your process, and then let's see what tools we can use to accomplish this.
Right. Like first principle thinkings, okay, that human, what does he do on a daily basis? What do they want? What are
Mhm.
their current devices? What are their current habits? Technologies, I mean, they get outdated. For example, if we have another convo in 10 years from now, 100% that Apollo will probably not be on the surface of this planet Earth or Active Campaign. I mean, it's a bold prediction because both are like great companies, right? But yeah, like well, for the record, Apollo is one of my favorite tools. The value it has brought me personally is limitless. So shout out to them. But as an interaction perspective, me, I start everything that I do in a non-scalable way because else it just never gets done. If you think of the full tower before even putting a pillar, I mean, it's a bit different in that case because like the towers have already been built, but you need to start somewhere. So I start with the non-scalable, even adding people manually to my newsletter, or I'm still outreaching manually on LinkedIn. It still has some value, by the way. Then
Mhm.
once I get the dopamine loop closed, my brain is like, oh, this is inefficient. I need to cut down my time, and I don't have enough time. I'm feeling overwhelmed with all these interviews on a daily basis. How can I automate that? And then I tried to automate it. I tried to be super motivated to really close the automation loop, whether that's Zapier, whether that's any other automation tool, including Keep or including ActiveCampaign, for example.
Mhm.
For the podcast in itself, I think it's kind of a novel concept, or I mean, there's not a lot of people applying it there, but I feel it's a gold mine, just to be able to interview people, pick their brain, get to know them
Mhm.
personally.
Mhm.
And then once you know that person and had 30 minutes, like you would never get 30 minutes with Russell Brunson or with any, Frank Kern, legends in marketing. So I feel this
Yep.
is an edge right there. And once you know me, then you might know that I'm an eccentric thinker, contrarian, and then you read my content. And yes, I force subscribe you to my Substack if you receive that today. And then once you get value from me, then yes, we might grow something. We might grow that something into something. My question for you, Phil, is when is it too much? Like when I see these unsubscribes every day in my newsletters, and I see them especially when I increase my frequency, whether it is because they thought my content wasn't good, or whether it is because they thought it was too frequent.
Mhm.
So when does it become too much for someone? Is it me messing up on the value side of things and sending something that half baked, or is it just the frequency?
I don't think the frequency is a problem when there's value. So if people are unsubscribing, whether they don't see any value in what you're sending, doesn't mean your value is not good. Doesn't mean they lost interest for what you're offering, or it's unclear. Like, why are they on your list? Is it because you took their email and brought it into your CRM and started sending out stuff? Or did you stop sending stuff for 3 months and then you started back to send your newsletter without warning or anything? So people lose interest, or it's unclear why they are receiving stuff from you. So one of the guys I used to work with, and we wrote 2 books together, Frédéric Gonzalo. Um, every Monday morning he sends out his newsletter about travel and marketing. Every single Monday, 52 times a year, he does this. And like, of course, he gets people unsubscribing from his newsletter, but in the end, his audience is always on the rise. So consistency, clarity, and value. I guess that's the secret sauce to keep people on your list. But let's not kid ourselves. Like, there's always people who will unsubscribe. There are people who will complain about what you're sending, even though their opt-in was clear and they found value in your stuff, and at some point they will just click on complain. So like the thing about spam and complaint is, it's not like people, like individuals are not referring to the law and saying, oh, it says here in the law that this email could be fraudulent, so I'm going to mark this as spam. It's just in their head. It's like, oh, look at that guy, Charles is still sending me that stuff, man, I'm just going to complain. Okay, so you don't have to take it personally. People are people, and stuff like that happens. And one other thing I see lots of times is customers buying high ticket offers and then unsubscribing from the emails. It's like, okay, humans are sometimes terrible. They pay 5K, 10K for a coaching program, and then they unsubscribe and then they complain they're not receiving the emails. I see that every month with different clients. It's so it makes me laugh. So people are unsubscribing for the good and the wrong reasons. But consistency, clarity, and value.
I know Fred Gonzalo.
You know him?
Yeah, well, it's a small world in Quebec, and I remember
Yeah.
that I think I was prospecting him a couple of years ago on Pige Point, Quebec, when I used to do business in Quebec, which seems like a lifetime ago. Um, the list you gave me of possible problems, I'm checking a couple of boxes there, so not not being super clear on why I subscribed them to newsletter. I somewhat waited a month and a half also, so we might have speak a month and a half ago, and they're like, "Yeah, who is he again?" Then the fact that I stopped the newsletter for I think 3 or 4 weeks, and even that is a lifetime in the business world. So yeah, I got various insights there. One last that I would add there is like, who's your audience? Is it coupon moms at their home that are like distracted about life and everything, and like lower class, not so educated? Or is it B2B folks that are super professional, that you had professional is not the right word, but super, let's say, into insights, and I had them on my podcast, we discussed, they know me. So, one might flag you as spam and the other might very much appreciate your content. So yeah, very insightful. Our time's already up, Phil. It was really quick, but yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate your insights here. Where
Mhm.
can people find out more about you, Phil?
They can go on my LinkedIn. The problem is it's always with my full name, so it's linkedin.com. I guess it's /Philippe Bussière, PHILIPPEBUSSIERE, or on my website, phare36.com, PHARE36.com.